Hey everybody, welcome back. We're 54% through the foundations, and we're working through block and inline as part of the CSS foundations. In the previous lesson, we discovered that different display types have unique box models, and we can modify the box calculation by changing the box sizing property. CSS has two types, block and inline, which determine element, behavior, and interaction. The display property controls how HTML elements appear on the web page. We will explore its various options further in this lesson. Lesson overview. This section contains a general overview of topics that you will learn in this lesson. You'll learn about normal flow, you'll learn the difference between block and inline elements, and you'll learn which element default to block and which elements default to inline. You'll learn what divs and spans are. Blocks versus inline. Most of the elements that you have learned about so far are block elements. In other words, their default style is display block. By default, block elements will appear on the page stacked atop each other, each new element starting on a new line. So if we inspect this, we might see that these are, and if we filter for block, we'll see that the display is set to block here. Okay. Inline elements, however, do not start on a new line. They appear in line with whatever elements they are placed beside. A clear example of an inline element is a link or an anchor tag. If you stick one of these in the middle of a paragraph of the text, the link will behave like part of the paragraph. So, oh my gosh. Okay, this is crazy. Additionally, padding and margin behave differently on inline elements. In general, you do not want to try to put extra padding or margin on inline elements. The middle ground inline block. Inline block elements behave like inline elements, but with block style padding and margin. Display inline block is a useful tool to know about, but in practice, you'll probably end up reaching for flexbox more often if you're trying to line up a bunch of boxes. Flexbox will cover this in depth in the next lesson, so we'll keep moving on. Divs and spans. We can't talk about block and inline elements without discussing divs and spans. All the other HTML elements we have encountered so far give meaning to their content. For example, paragraph elements tell the browser to display the text it contains as a paragraph. Strong elements tell the browser which text within are important, and so on. Yet, divs and spans give no particular meaning to their content. They are just generic boxes that can contain anything. Having elements like this available to us is a lot more useful than it may appear. We will often need elements that serve no other purpose than to be hook elements, and we can give an ID or class to target them for styling with CSS. Another use case we will face regularly is grouping related elements under one parent element to correctly position them on the page. Divs and spans provide us with the ability to do this. Div is a block level element by default. It is commonly used as a container element to group other elements. Divs allow us to divide the page into different blocks and apply styles to those blocks. Okay, so it provides this situation. Just as a little aside, wow, this is all broken up into sections. But yeah, as you can see, this is the div. If you look down at the bottom, the page container PB10. So yeah, these are all broken up into divs. You see that? That's a div, and that's a div. And then we move on to our stuff here. Span is an inline element by default. It can be used, I'm going to stop this. It can be used to group text content and inline HTML elements for styling, and should only be used when no other semantic HTML element is appropriate. What happens when we run the pen? Okay, that shows us our HTML and our CSS, our P element, class, and then this class is a span, so this quiz nostrud is a span element, so it's within the inline. Whereas if we come up here, we run this pen, we see that these are all just div'd out, so they come up as individual text units that are stacked upon each other. So, assignment. The concept of normal flow is implied in the box model resource, but isn't laid out specifically. So you can read this normal flow from MD MDN to make sure you understand how elements lay themselves out by default. So this is just basically, yeah, this is one of those things I can't really go over this in detail because I don't know that it really would help. W3 School, HTML block and inline elements, DigitalOcean tutorial. And okay, so here we go. Do the exercise in our CSS repository block and inline directory. Okay, this is interesting. This is what we were using last time. If you've been following along, we did Cascade last time, and so now we're at block and inline. And so do the exercises there. Remember that instructions are in the README in the order. So we're going to start off with margin and padding 1, and then we're going to go to margin and padding 2. Note, solutions for these exercises can be found in the solution folder of each exercise. Okay, cool. So let's check these guys out. Block and inline. So here we've got, and go to the first video if you don't know how to git clone this and get it down for yourself. We're not going to save our work from the last one, which was Cascade, but we're going to move on to this guy. So start off with the README. We'll close this guy. For the first exercise, simply edit the style.css file so that the divs look like the image below. The image below is going to be the desired outcome. So we'll move this down to the bottom. And so we just want it to look like this. And now the way that we open up this is we can open our index.html in our web browser. So I'm just dragging it down and opening it in the web browser. And yeah, here we have that. So right now, okay, I'm just going to slide this over to the right. I'm going to slide this over to the right, to the left. Okay, so right now div 1, 2, and 3 are, so this is our desired outcome, and this is what we have right now. Again, I just clicked the index file and I dragged it into the browser icon. That could be Chrome or Safari or whatever it is that you use. So it looks like below. Only edit the CSS where instructed in the file. You should only have a change in the values of the margin and padding for this exercise. You should not have to add or remove properties in the CSS or touch the HTML files. You should not have to add or remove properties in the CSS. Okay, so we shouldn't add or remove anything, but we should make edits. Okay, cool. So we don't even need to open up the index HTML file because we don't want to change anything there. So we'll just open up the CSS file and put it here next to it. Actually, we'll put it over here. Okay, use this section to check your work. Okay. You should not have to add or remove anything here. Okay, change me. I'm seeing change me in the comments here. And what we want to do is just, okay, we are going to want to open up the HTML file. I'm actually going to put the desired outcome here so we can see it. And then I'm going to put the index file here because we need to know what we're editing in order to make useful edits. So we have div class of 1, div class of 2, and div class of 3. I guess that's not rocket science. But the max width is 600 pixels, so that's what gives it the distance between the edges. Let's say we made this 800, and then we saved our work, and we refresh this page. That would, obviously, that makes the max width different. And so we'll just change that back. And the margin is 0 and auto. So for the first one, it says that we want to change the padding. So right now the padding's 0 pixels. Let's change this to 50 pixels. And now if we save that and we refresh, we'll see that it got bigger. Okay, cool. And then what about with the margin? We'll change this from 0 to 20 pixels. If we save that and refresh, we'll see it shrunk down. Cool. So it's having that effect. Oh, use this section to check your work. Of these projects, your goal isn't to attain 100% pixel perfection, but to use the tools you've learned to get relatively close to the desired output. So div 1 and div 3 have 32 pixels between their text and border. And 3 but have 32 pixels between their text and border. Okay, so that tells me that it's padding. So we should make this one 32. And then this guy, we can set the padding to 32. Now if we save the CSS file and then we come back over to where we've opened this HTML file in our browser and we refresh, we're going to see that now it really matches the desired outcome. Okay, So we've got div 1 and 2 out. Div 1 has 12 pixels between it and the other element on the page. So div 1 has 12 pixels between it. And I think I changed this to a margin of 20, but so let's make it 12. And now if we save that and refresh here, okay, that's even closer to this. Okay, cool. So we're probably good there. There is a 68 pixel gap between div 2 and 3. Between div 2 and 3. A 68 pixel difference. 48. So that's 24 would be the difference, right? So the margin on the bottom, so 48 divided by 2 is 24. And then this one has margin top. Well, it doesn't have margin bottom and top, so that tells me that we can actually just make this one 48. So if we save that and refresh the page, we see that the distance between div 3 and div 2 is now similar to the same one. Okay, cool. Between div 2 and 3. Div 3 is aligned to the right. So div 3, margin left, 0 pixels. Well, what happens if we make it margin right, 0 pixels? It didn't work. Div 3 is aligned to the right. I think we could go align right. Margin right. 100 pixels? Well, that didn't change anything. So if I go margin right, margin right 0 pixels. Okay, cool. So now I save this and refresh here. Oh, that didn't make a difference either. Zero pixels. Well, what happens if we make it 0%? What about align right? Align items. I wonder what it wants it to be in the right. All right, I'm going to cheat and check out the solution. Margin left auto. Ah, okay. Margin left auto. So now if we save that and refresh, cool. Sorry for cheating, but I did not know the answer. Div 3 is aligned to the right. And so that was margin left auto. And div 3's alignment is achieved by using margin and not float or flexbox, etc. All right, cool. So now our index HTML looks very similar to the solution desired. And we can check this against the solutions. So I'm going to pull up the solution CSS into this file. And the index hasn't changed, so we don't need to worry about that. Max width, 600, 0 auto, pink, blue, 3212. Background, border, width, padding 32, margin left auto. Cool. So that's what we were trying to do with this one. And so yeah, we've completed that sort of exercise. Now we want to commit our changes to GitHub because we've just recently made changes. So git status. We can see we've changed the style. Oh, this is just the first one. Margin, cascade. Oh, I didn't change the cascade one from the last one, but we'll just worry about that later. So yeah, number 2. Here's the README. I'm going to pull this up here. I'm going to close the old one. Okay, so yeah, no, we'll commit our stuff right now. So git status. We can go git add, and we want to do our foundations, our block and inline, and our O1 margin padding, and our style CSS. And I'm just hitting tab each time in order to get that. So now if we go git status, we'll see that we've completed that. So we want to go git commit, and we'll add the message of solution for 01 margin and padding. And now we can push that, and that will make it so that on our GitHub intro to CSS, if we look at our exercises and foundations and we go to block and inline, currently if we go here, our CSS is going to have all the change me things in here. And what we're going to do is remove the comments because we've added the solutions. Cool. So now we can go get status. We see our changes are back, so we can just press the up button to go back to adding the foundations, and then we can press the up button to get our commit with the message, and now we can go get push. So we'll push our changes up. And now if we refresh this page, we're going to see that our solutions have been set and the comments are gone. So we've updated our answer. Cool. So we've completed the first one, and so now we're going to move on to the second one. So I'm just going to press Command W to close out all of the block and inline solutions for number 1 because we've completed that, and now we're going to look into number 2. So for the README, this one is a little nicer looking and a little closer to something you might see in the real world. You'll need to change a little more than just margin and padding to make it look exactly right. So it's asking us to look at the desired outcome. I'm going to bring the desired outcome here. I'm going to close out Git for now so we don't need that. And so this is our desired outcome. And then if we open our index page in the browser, we're going to see what it looks like now. So we see that there's some room for improvement. Use this section to check your work. On these projects, your goal isn't to attain 100% pixel perfection, but to use the tools you've learned to get relatively close to the desired outcome. There is 8 pixels between the edge of the card and its content. All right, so let's pull up the index HTML so we can look at the code, and then we'll also pull the CSS up here. We don't see any change me here, so we're going to have to figure this out on our own. There's an 8 pixel between the edge of the card and its contents, the blue section, between the edge of the card. So if we inspect here and we look into here, here's the title. This is says I'm the card. So here's the card. Okay, so here's our card text, and we want to have an 8 pixel. Oh, I'm just going to slide this over, and then I'll close this. 8 pixels between the edge of the card and its contents, the blue section. Okay, this is the card. And so what happens if we just add margin? Oh no, padding of 8 pixels. All right. Well, that looks closer to our desired outcome than previously. Okay, so but this is not saving it in there. So what we need to do is come to the card and be like padding 8 pixels. So now we've updated the actual code, and so when we refresh this, we'll see that it just shows up, and it's actually here. So this is the way it was, and now this is the way it has come. There's an 8 pixel gap between each of the blue sections inside the card. Okay, the blue sections. Oh, we can actually use this. These are the blue sections. There's the title, and then the content. Each of the blue sections inside the card. Content and button container. Button container, button title. So I'm noticing title, content, and button container all have the same blue section area. There's an 8 pixel gap between each of the blue sections inside the card. Maybe we could go margin 8 pixels. And now if we save that and refresh, okay, I don't think that did what we wanted it to. I'm going to put the desired outcome here. No, that didn't give us what we wanted. So I'm going to undo that and save it. So what I'm noticing is that the padding around each of the blue sections has 8 pixels. So button container and content. Well, let's see what happens if we do it with container. So we do margin 8 pixels. Okay, I don't think margin's right, so let's try padding. Okay, so content now has the right amount of padding. And the button container should probably have the same padding. And then also I'm in the card needs that. And that I'm the card has the class of title. We don't want to do card, we want to do title. So padding of 8 pixels. Save that, refresh. Okay, this is starting to look better. The title of the card uses a 16 font. Okay, so here I'm noticing this is smaller and this is way bigger. So card should have I guess it should have a font size of, was it 16 pixels? Yeah. So now if we save that and refresh here, card didn't change. No, this should be in size. Sorry, it should be in title. All right, now that matches there. Okay. And there are 8 pixels between. The content selection has 16 pixel space. Wait. Title of the card uses 16. There are 8 pixels between the title and the text on the edge of the title section. On the title section, there are 8 pixels difference. The padding's already there. Okay, so I don't think we need to change that. The content section has a 16 pixel space on the top and bottom, and the 8 pixels on either side. On the content, and then, okay, has 18 space on the top and bottom. So this could be margin, and then it goes top, right, bottom, left. On the top and bottom. So 16 pixels on the top, 8 pixels on the right, 16 pixels on the bottom, and 8 pixels on the right. So now if we refresh, okay, margin's not right. So margin border, maybe? Okay, refresh that. No, not border, margin. Margin, padding, border. I can't remember the other one. All right, I'm cheating again. Let's go to the solution and see what they did in the CSS. So in the content is what we're looking for. Oh, it's not even there. Content. Oh, they just changed it like that? Okay. We're going to forget the solution for now. The content section, okay. Everything inside the bottom container section is centered, and there is an 8 pixel padding. Okay. Button container, align content in the center. If we save that, we'll try something else. Align contents in the center. In the button container. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull up the solution again. CSS, button container. Oh, that's, I was just looking at the original one. Okay, container, padding 16 pixels, content, okay. 16 pixels. And 8 pixels. So if we save that, now our content element, this guy, should change when we refresh. Cool. And our button container should have a padding of 6, of 8, and on the center. Text align center. That's what I was looking for. Okay, now it's a big button type thing. Everything inside the button container is centered, and there is an 8 pixel padding. Okay, we've got that. The big button is centered on its own line. Okay, if we look at the desired outcome, big button's on its own line. So what do you think that means? Big button. Button, margin padding. Oh, display block. All right, so now if we save that, we'll see the big button's on its own line. But it's aligned to the left, so that's strange. And on its own line. So when we changed button, it went to the left, so we should probably go text align center. Save that, refresh. Okay, that didn't work. Now we're going to cheat again. Margin. That's what it is. Margin is equal to 0 and auto. Should be margin, not margin with a capital L. Cool. And so, yet we still have it kind of off. The big button has 24 pixels of space on the sides and 8 pixels on the top and the bottom. Has 24 pixels on the side. All right, well, back to the cheating situation. Display block, margin, border. We've already set that. Background is white. But what we want to do is add padding, 8 pixels, 24 pixels. Now if we refresh that, it looks like better. Okay. So we basically just cheated our way there, but this is kind of the solution. And the idea behind this is just that we're learning how to work through these things. And so I hope that that wasn't too crazy of me just cheating through it, but I think that you kind of get the idea, and I hope this video is useful in learning how to make saves and changes and then learn how to affect that thing. But I think this basically solves our solution. So now if we go get status, we're going to see that we want to add the foundations, block inline style. We want to go get add. Put that in there and then commit this with a message of add solution for O2 block and inline padding. So now we can, yeah, and if we want to see this in our block and inline on line 2, if we go to style CSS, we're going to see this is the old version. And this is our new version. So the best way to look at it would just be the button has a padding on it. Right now the button has no padding. So we should go git push. And this is going to push our changes up to GitHub. So now when we refresh this page, we're going to see that we have our button with everything there. And so that's the solution for this one. Cool. And so that's pushed up to GitHub, and that shows that we've done the work. So apply what you've learned about box model to improve the look of the recipe page, index HTML homepage. Currently, it's just a plain list, so get creative with layouts, colors, and uniquely captivating. Make it uniquely captivating. For our recipes page. Okay, so that's a previous thing. I'm not going to go into that for now because I can't remember where I saved that. But then we just go through some knowledge checks and additional resources. But I hope I gave you guys a good perspective on how to work through this, and you guys can dress this up. You know, you could do something like make everything of a font family cursive, and if you save that and refresh, oh, I can't believe that didn't work. There must be very specific things, but you could make it like font family cursive. Oh, that didn't even change the button. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. I need to close the margin and padding one. Yeah, now you can see the big buttons cursive. We can take this out and put it here. But yeah, you can just get creative with this if you want. If we make the whole thing cursive, then refresh, you'd see that everything's there. So you could do all sorts of stuff with this, but I wouldn't get too caught up in it. Basically, the whole idea is just about how to learn how to make adjustments like this. And so yeah, we pushed up our changes, and yeah, I'm just gonna mark this one complete for now, and we will move on in the next lesson to Introduction to Flexbox. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.